Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hello, Dr. Whitney Casares. How are you today? And welcome to Savvy Broadcasting.
Thank you. Yes. Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
You betcha. And happy Mother's Day to you as well. You are a pediatrician and you have a wonderful site helping mommies out there. Modern Mommy Doc. I love it. .com. It's awesome. And you have a new book that you're putting out, your second book, The Working Mom Blueprint, Winning at Parenting Without Losing Yourself. Oh my gosh. Do moms need this more than ever? The one thing, I don't know if you tell me if you've experienced this, but a lot of mommies are telling me that it's been a kind of blessing in disguise, the lockdowns, because a lot of mommies have been able to spend more time with their kids.
Yeah, I think yes and no, right?
Okay.
I think there have 100% been silver linings due to COVID. For some families, it's just been horrible all the way around. But for some families, it has been better in a few regards that you're able to actually have just more time in general, more quantity of time.
Yeah.
I would say, though, for a lot of moms, there's more quality time on the weekends because they don't feel as rushed.
Yeah.
In the afternoons, it might be more quality because they don't have to go off to soccer practice for their kids or drop them off at cello practice or whatever. You know, there's less kind of to-dos and that hecticness for themselves and for their families. But that a lot of moms are actually feeling very conflicted as they try to balance work and still being present in the workplace and being effective there with being present and effective in their homes and feeling like they are in a spot where they're doing really right by all the different parts of their life.
What I'm guessing is a big challenge, especially with the work, home life and children, is really setting up the boundaries for each.
Yes, absolutely. I think it also just depends on the age of your child and what their specific needs are that they have that, you know, when you have a young baby, that you have specific needs that come with that baby. When you have an older child that's in elementary school. So absolutely, it just depends on kind of what the specific scenario that's playing out in a working mom's house and what the working mom situation is. You know, for me, I know that I had to go into the office every single day and see patients. And there are some moms who've been on Zoom. And to be honest, I think it was easier for me in some ways to like separate, still keep on going into the office, have that commute time there and back. And when I'm on Zoom meetings, sometimes there is a little bit more interruptions where people are coming in and trying to get my attention, you know? And so I think moms have been missing that as well.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. That's what I hear from a lot of my mom friends. They're just like, I so miss getting away from the family because I love my kids. I love my husband, but you know, I want some time away so I can have that structure that, okay, I'm traveling. This is the work time. I come home. Here's the work time. My favorite video, I don't know if you saw this. It was on CNN. It was hysterical. This is way before COVID, but this guy was doing this serious economic type chat with CNN, and in the back he's just in his bedroom talking on Zoom or something, and in the background at one point the baby's on one of those things that you walk in like this, and the baby comes in and he's walking behind him, and so no one's paying attention to anything the dad's talking about when it comes to the economics. And then the mom comes in, she's on the floor crawling, trying to grab the baby and take her, and it was the most hysterical piece. But you know, and the dad's like, oh, okay. But it's kind of
I did see that. That was hilarious. And I think kind of the nice thing is I remember my mom when I was younger. My mom, she had her own business. She did a lot of stuff from the house. She would work. And I remember her being on the phone and being very, very polite and very, very business. And then I remember her putting her hand over the phone and being to my brother and I who were arguing, like, stop that, you know, get out of here. And it was because she was embarrassed that she had us there in the home. She didn't want anyone to know that. And I do think that COVID has opened things up and created a bit more of that transparency for workplaces and for moms, that we all know that we have families, you know. I love the Zoom feature that has that blurred background. But what I love even more is when I'm having meetings with my team members, when their kids come strolling by and I see, you know, that's actually real life, is that we're not just workers, we're human beings. A lot of us have families. If you don't have a family, you have a life outside of work. So I actually think that is going to be a good thing that comes out of COVID, is just more of this transparency.
Yeah. And tell me if you've gotten this, Dr. Whitney, is that when I used to go on social media, I used to be like, gosh, Sarah has it so much better. Look at that house, and her posts are so awesome. She's just got it all going together. But then you begin to realize now with this transparency, you were like, okay, Sarah has her own stuff she's going through. You know, she might have a sick mom that she has to take care of and a bunch of kids. And so you realize that everyone doesn't have an optimal life that might be better than yours. They all are at different levels, dealing with different struggles. And that, you know, it allows you to get rid of some of that stress of trying to, you don't think you're doing it, but it's kind of like you want to compete. Like, oh, let me put up a better Facebook post that shows that my life is perfect. When now you realize I don't have to do that because we all have our crap going on.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think what happens is that, you know, we do have, all of us, this sense also as moms of everyone else must be able to do it all. Everyone else must be able to juggle it all with ease, because otherwise, why do their Instagram posts look so great? Why do why do they look so put together when they come to pick up their kids from school, you know, even if they're not on social media? And when the world tells us this message of, in order to be a good mom, you need to be the person who does everything, who of course has perfect self-care, and of course like is killing it in the workplace, and of course attunes to your kids perfectly, and also make sure that they do all the extracurriculars so they can get to the best college out there. And my philosophy really, and in the book we talk about this, is it is impossible to do it all if you want to do anything well. And so creating systems and frameworks that allow you to have your priorities kind of straight and in your mind to understand and be okay with those priorities, and then letting go the rest. That's the thing that actually makes moms successful, is that ability to decide, I don't have to be everything to all people or to all the different places at all the same time. There's going to be times where I'm an amazing employee because I have more bandwidth. There's going to be times where I have to say to my employer, listen, I need to take a step back because my kid's sick, or because my dad is ill, or whatnot. And so as humans, that is something that we have to do, is kind of flex in those areas. And a lot of the book is just about this idea of, where can you streamline on the areas that do not matter at all, on weekday meals for your kids. You know, in my house, that is marinated chicken skewers and throw some broccoli on and get a loaf of French bread, right? It's healthy, but it is not complicated. The laundry only gets done one time a week from 7 to 9 in the evenings for the folding and the putting away. And the rest of the time, I just leave it. I stuff it in a closet. You know, I decide I would rather spend those precious moments that I have either with my kids, or exercising, or having a glass of wine with my friends, or connecting with my husband, or working on my work. You know, some things have to go if you want to do anything well.
Yeah, I love that you say this, Dr. Whitney, because I remember a couple of years ago, I was starting a big contract, and then I do this show several times a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, the show's going to, for me, this is something that's very important to me. This is going to slide. I'm not going to be able to do it well. But what I did, just as you mentioned, is I got systems in place, got some help outside to do the stuff that maybe I had no right doing anyway, because, you know, I'm not like a perfectionist when it comes to setting up titles and whatever. Got people to do that well. I don't need to think about that. I do what I do well. And then focus, like you said, when you get off work, spend time with your family, and you're not having to focus on things that don't really matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think there's this difference too, because a lot of moms think about this. And I think, again, this is kind of a cultural assumption that if we just are more efficient with our time, if we're able to be more productive, if we have better checklists that allow us, or, you know, we can use Google Suite better, you know, to coordinate and everything. Yes, that's a part of it. The stuff that we can do for our own things that we need to get done. But what you're speaking to is also this idea of automating and delegating. Is there somebody else that can actually do it better than I can? Or that even if they can't do it better right now, I'm the one who actually would, you know, make a better lunch for my kids. Let's be honest. I'm going to provide more healthy foods probably at this moment because I'm a pediatrician than my husband. If I allow my husband to really take that on and take ownership of that and let go of that, he eventually will become the expert in that. And then I won't be the one who has all the knowledge, and I'm kind of up here and he's down here in terms of that role. So automating and delegating actually invites other people into our mommy village and makes it so that we can have more bandwidth to do those things that we really care about the most.
Yeah, I totally love that, because it doesn't, that is the myth that in our culture, I think that we have to do it all, be the CEO, mom. And, as you do all that, you run yourself ragged. How many people have I heard that of a top manager, VP position, but they feel like they don't get to have time for them, maybe even, I got the time for the kids. I got the time in the office. I have zero time for me. And that is so important, self-care, in order to give back, because you get to empty at one point.
Right, exactly. And I think the thing that happens, I mean, I'm good at stuffing down my emotions, stuffing down my needs, working hard. I'm one of those people, like if there were two things that define me, characteristics, it would be hard work and commitment, right? And most moms that I know, they're capable on the surface of doing all the things. Like they can juggle all the balls. The problem is that when you do that constantly, without a plan, it makes it so that on the inside, you're burnout and stressed and resentful that you are constantly the one doing it. And then what happens? Then it's like dig, work. And then at the end, you get that pressure inside of you of like, I'm so irritated by this. I'm so frustrated with my life. And then poof, it explodes into, you really don't feel great about life, or you don't care as much about your work. You're not able to put your heart into it as much as possible, or you're pretty irritable with your kids or with your partner, so it has to come out somewhere. The steam has to come out somewhere. So it's way better to let it out like in tiny little bits with that self-care. That's really what self-care is. It's just attuning to our needs and deciding I'm not going to get caught up in that burnout cycle.
Yeah. This is so important, Dr. Whitney, because I find, my husband will say to me, okay, what do you need? Because you think, oh no, I gotta do dinner. I gotta do the dishes. And then, as you said, you get resentful. Well, no one's helping me here. I'm doing all of this. And then what am I, slave to everyone? And no one asks you to be a slave. But if you don't delegate, if you don't ask for help, they don't know. They're like, well, she's cool with doing it because she's doing the dishes and the laundry and the this. And until you say, hey guys, I need you to pitch in, put your dishes in there and clean up. And Sally, you do this, please. Hey, whatever it might be, that you're not the only one here. You're working together as a group. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And, I think the other piece that you're saying, like if your husband was asking, like, what do you need? I mean, setting boundaries also for ourselves, whether that's around the third work committee that someone asks us to be on that really is not something that we care about, So for a while I was on the party planning committee at my work, and I'm thinking like, I do not have time to be on the party planning committee at my work, but I for a while just did it because I didn't want to say no. And I decided that having boundaries either with people in my personal life or in my professional life means actually I say no to things because I'm saying yes to something else. So it's very, very difficult, I think, as women, for us, we're trained to never say no. And so if I say just no without a reason, in my head, that's extremely difficult. I feel guilty. I feel like I should be doing more. But when I flip that script and say, I'm saying no to this because I want to say yes to the two committees that I am on at work. And I want to be diving into those full force. I want to lean into that with all of my talent, with all of my gifts. Or I'm saying no to this because I really have something important personally that's happening, a sister's wedding that I want to be a part of. And I really think that that's important. It has to be that you're saying yes to something if you're saying no to something else. And that makes all the difference.
Yeah. I totally get that. And because there was something I was asked to do, and it's just something that didn't jive with you. There'll be things that, whether well-meaning or not, that I'm just not feeling, but you say yes to anyway. And then you don't do it full out, and you want to be able to do it full out. And by saying no, as you said, self-care just means, okay, like let's talk about social media. Before I was like on a billion different social medias, and one guy said, you know what? I gave that up. Now what I do in the morning is I don't even pick up my phone to look at social media. I let it like in the middle of the afternoon, evening. I used to just have the phone there, boom, Facebook. And then you start to realize how much of your time is being wrought through that, where you're not really connecting with real people right in front of you, like your children, your husband, your coworkers. And when you begin to let that go, it just opens so much more time.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. When you begin to let that go, suddenly you think, oh my gosh, I have actually tons of time. People ask me all the time, like, how do you have so much time to do all the things? I'm a pediatrician. I work 3 days a week. I'm an author. I am a mom,
Mm-hmm.
right? I run a business on the side. And yes, I'm busy. And I like being busy. You know, I get a lot of value and I get a lot of a lot of happiness and satisfaction from the work that I do. So I think there's parts of this that are personality, but the other parts are that, like, on the weekends, I don't overschedule myself so that then when I'm done working and doing all the things, like on a Saturday and Sunday, 99% of the time, we purposely decide that we're not going to pre-plan much of anything with our kids or with ourselves. And I think that's in large part because my oldest daughter has an anxiety disorder. It has made it from the get-go that we can't kind of overwhelm her with a bunch. And that trained us really as a family to say, you know, okay, we have to really be in tune to her needs and to our own needs about the times that we feel overwhelmed. And what do we do when we have that feeling? Sometimes as a working parent, you cannot fix it in that moment. You're in a week with a lot of appointments. You got a lot going on. You have a lot of deadlines and you just go, okay, I'm in it. I'm just going to put my head down. I'm going to feel burnout and stressed out this week. That's part of it. But I think we always have the opportunity to look and audit and reflect back to see, well, okay, that's how this day felt. How do I want tomorrow to feel? How do I want next week to feel? I might not be able, and I don't want to ever flake out on commitments that I make, but I can decide for the future what I'm going to say yes to, say no to, schedule in a different way so that I don't feel like I am constantly running on a hamster wheel.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because if you take an audit ahead of time, what can I take? What's comfortable that I can give my best to my family, myself, and everyone. That way, when you take that self audit ahead of time, then when the stuff comes up, you're like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not able to meet this commitment. It doesn't fit with my schedule. It's perfect. But I don't want us to leave. I want everyone to go out there and get the working mom blueprint. Where can they do that?
Yes. So it's sold everywhere that books are sold, all the bookstores. You can go to our website, modernmommydoc.com. We have a whole book section on the top. You can look at the tabs. It talks about both of my books that I have there, the Working Mom Blueprint and the New Baby Blueprint, which is for new moms and has a lot of information about moms who are heading back to work for the first time. So check it out there. And then, of course, Amazon's a great place to look for it too. I hang out on Instagram at Modern Mommy Doc as well.
I love that. Now, do you post on a weekly basis to your blog or online? When do you put up content?
Yep. So we put out content every single week. We have a newsletter that comes out. So we would love it if you would subscribe so that we can get all the free info, because we know there's a book that's amazing. Go buy the book, if you want it all synthesized. But every single week we're talking about mama mindset and how to really shift your thinking and your paradigm in your work life, in your home life. And then on Instagram, we're constantly putting out content. We try to make it as funny and relatable as possible and or deep and empathetic. That's kind of our tune. We have two sides of things. Very, very funny. This week we put one out that was about how, in 1994, why is it that I can't remember anything in my house or like where I put my shirt, but I can remember every single lyric to every single song from 1994, right? So we try to be very, very funny, but then we also have posts that are like, it's okay, mom, that you feel super anxious and that you yelled at your kids today, because moms kind of need both parts of those. So follow us on Instagram for daily inspiration, and then weekly for the newsletter.
That is so fabulous. Well, Dr. Whitney, I just have to thank you again for sharing your great wisdom today on Savvy Broadcasting. I know it's helped everyone. Thank you.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Get ready. I have some exciting news. On August 26th, Savvy Broadcast will release a new series, Forbidden Speech, The Raw Truth. We'll touch on hot topics that affect us all, from COVID to politics to current events. We'll bring in all perspectives to have an honest conversation about things and what we can do to make the world a better place. Tune in and listen on SavvyBroadcasting.com.